Hello everyone, it's Farked here, and in this video I'm going to cover update 15 for Sons of the Forest. Now this is the last update before they're going into full release, which is 2.5 months away. Sorry for this video being up late, I have been moving house. Now I'm going to cover the full release stuff, then get into the update. The game is going to go in full release, which is version 1.0, on the 22nd of February 2024. I'm not sure if this is exactly a year after it's been in early access. And during this time, up until then, there is going to be no more updates. There hasn't even been a hotfix in the 2 weeks since the update has dropped. Now they announced that Shawn Ashmore has joined the cast and will be voicing Timmy, and they're going to expand his role in the game. Maybe that means he's going to become a companion, I'm not sure. If you're wondering who Shawn Ashmore is, he was the icy dude in X-Men, and he was the fire dude in The Boys. He hasn't had that many roles from what I can tell. He was really good in The Boys, and it was a shame that his role was so short-lived. I thought he was actually a good character in it. He played him very well. They stated that version 1.0 will come with story updates, new features and polish, and will also include the final question mark piece. It's unfortunate they left it this long because they've been releasing a piece each update, and now they're just blue-balling us for this one. Now I'm going to save my opinions to the end of this video. In the meantime, let's get into it. Now the first change is Kelvin now has 3 new commands. He can repair structures, sharpen defensive walls, and maintain base. They're fairly self-explanatory. The most interesting one though I think is maintain base, which states that he will fill all your holders to capacity, complete any in-progress structures, repair any damage, and sharpen and place defensive walls. Now I went through and tested this out to see how he actually did it. In my main game, he just went around repairing the castle, and it seemed to be that he was repairing things that probably didn't need repairing, and that's all he seemed to do. I didn't have any defensive walls that needed sharpening, but I had a lot of holders that weren't full, but he was just going around repairing. So I set up a scenario with a holder of each type, an incomplete blueprint, a damaged wall, and a defensive wall that needed the tops chopped off him. He prioritized by chopping the tops off the wall, he repaired the structure, and then he stood over on the beach with a log in his hand for over a day. I sped time up. I'm not sure if it bugged out or not. After asking him to do it again, he did eventually complete the hunting shelter, the blueprint, but he just didn't fill any of the holders though. So there's 2 games he didn't appear to do what he was supposed to do. It's most likely bugged. Kelvin's always had a lot of bugs though. The next change to the game is that they've added a new female cannibal type called Elise. I think that's how you pronounce it. She has like Wolverine bone knuckles on her hands, and she does a lot of spin attacks. They've obviously had this animation for a while. This is definitely motion captured. She's pretty lethal, though like most female cannibals, they're a lot slower to react and generally easier to kill. Her animations are pretty cool though. Not sure what else to say about her. The next addition is that they've added 2 types of weapon holders, a shelf one and a freestanding one. The shelf one only holds 1 weapon, the floor one holds 4 weapons. Now I believe they were hesitant to add this one in because they wanted to prevent multiplayer duplication. Not sure if that's still going to be a thing. So how it worked in the forest was the host joins and then someone else joins, they drop all their weapons, quit the game without saving. When they rejoin, they've got all the weapons again. So saved players having to go through and get the weapons themselves. I think they might have just given up on that. And don't you hate it when you're trying to get some cinematic footage of the weapons and someone gets in your way? Each rack does show if it's got an upgraded variant on it or not, as most of the weapons can be upgraded with solo fight now. They can hold just about every weapon in the game. The only ones that can't hold are the turtle shell, if that's even classed as a weapon, the spear, but the spear has its own spear holder, the knife, the tactical axe that you start with, and the fire torch. None of those can be put on. Same with rocks, sticks, bones. None of them can go on it. Now you can camp a spot and keep saving and reloading, putting the weapon on, such as the modern axe. That is something that you can do. So the weapon won't respawn while you have it, but if you put it on a weapon rack, it will respawn back into the world. So you can get multiple of them. Could be a way you can collect weapons for your friends when they are on multiplayer, or if you just duplicate them. I don't know. Many ways to do it. The next addition is a firewood holder. Now the purpose of this is that you cannot place firewood on a built structure. So your floors with stone or planks. So the purpose of this is that you can put firewood on it, so then you can use it to light your fireplace or your fires or whatever inside. I just used to have a little gap, an impassable rock that I couldn't build around. That's how I used to store mine, because this game's building system is so much better apparently than the original. But yeah, it's a nice addition regardless. Something I noticed is that in my base there was a lot of yarrow that had spawned in there. That was new. The next thing is that there's more cannibal villages, bridges, paths, and ponds added to the world. This stuff's actually quite difficult to tell what they've actually done because they don't specify, which is fair enough. Maybe they added a lot and it's hard to tell. It's mostly on what they call the other side of the map, as in they know that the map has a side that's not too commonly used. They had a lot more villages over there, and they're more unique. And to be honest, I was kind of disappointed looking through them, because they're making them so unique that I don't think they're going to have cannibals building their own bases, which is disappointing. They have the ability to. Be cool to see. Add some randomization to the world. I could be wrong. Just have to wait and see. I'm going to shut up and move on to the next thing. They've added more details and props and gore and stuff to the cannibal villages and new points of interest around the map. I wasn't able to find much on the points of interest side of things, though some of the additions, like one of the villages near that island I turned into a base, so that cannibal village there has 3 turtle shells that you can pick up, which is really cool, and they most likely will respawn. And it shows that they're living off the sea, as they're right next to the sea, so they're relying on turtles and fish and stuff. So it's more realistic, I guess. They did add an island to the large pond on the other side of the map. This island is actually quite cool. It'd be very nice to build off. And as mentioned before with this map, it's a map that I clear off every time before an update. Well, I'll try to. So when there's new trees and stuff, I can see where they've changed things. And on this side of the map, there's a lot more trees. On the other side, the main side, there's not much. And that yacht that they added, there's no items placed inside it, so I guess they just abandoned it. The next change is that they've added new decorative papers around campsites and some story pickups. It's hard to tell what they actually added, just more things, I guess. I found one story item, I don't know what it is. I thought it was funny though, for a deserted island, there's an awful lot of bodies we're finding. North Sentinel Island. The next change is that they've renamed color grading setting to style and added a new style called found footage. If you select this, it adds a little date and a time down the bottom and obviously makes the screen go fuzzy. It's strange that cassette recordings are a thing still. When was the last time you seen a cassette recorder? It's still got that same vibe. Most people record with their phones or with a GoPro, but I guess it adds to that 80s theme that they've got going for the game, like the music and such. What's interesting is it's got the time and the date. The time's actually accurate to the GPS. It's slightly off, but it's fairly accurate. And the date says 2026, so this is in the future. I wonder if there's a purpose behind this. I've never really focused too much on the forests or Sons of the Forest story. Could mean something, but have to wait and see. Unless it's just to line up with the timing of the forest. Quite possible. It's a neat feature though. I wonder if it's to encourage cinematics getting made later on in the game, depending what they're doing with expansions, etc. The next addition is that they've added FSR 2.0 and they've added an ultra performance setting for DLSS. Now what these are, they're frame generation things for your GPU to help make games look better without doing too much work. So DLSS is NVIDIA's one and it's proprietary, which means that I think you can only use it if you've got an NVIDIA card. There's probably workarounds, but it's generally for NVIDIA only. AMD made FSR, I believe. You can use it on an NVIDIA card as well as on an AMD card. And I think FSR actually backtracked so older NVIDIA cards can use it. It's a lot more consumer friendly. I don't know which one's more effective. NVIDIA are generally better at doing things compared to AMD, but NVIDIA are dicks. I'm gonna straight up and say it. Overpriced stuff. They're like the Apple of the video card industry, but unfortunately they've got some of the best tech. I haven't tested out the FSR, though the Ultra Performance DLSS has got some pretty major problems. It did improve performance. There's 2 major problems with it. You can barely make out anything on the GPS because the frame generation's terrible, and blueprints flicker like mad. So unless they're going to fix this, I don't know if developers can turn off DLSS for certain things. If they can, they've got to turn it off for the GPS and blueprints by the looks of it. The next addition is that they've added a new findable blueprint to the world, the standing lamp. It can be found in this new hut area on the other side of the map. They've got a little dugout cave area. It's actually got a lot of stuff in it. If the stuff respawns, it'd actually be worth building around it. Now the lamp, it needs to be powered and it spins around. It's not a very good light at night. And it's honestly disappointing that they use a leg. I don't know what their obsession with Gore is, but at this point I think it's getting kind of ridiculous. Why can't they just have it on a stick or a log or something? I don't know. The next thing is that they've added a new findable outfit to the world, which is the priest outfit. And it's got a big crucifix on the front of it. It looks kind of cool. It's found in the middle of the map near the ice lake in that cabin. Now the cross on the outfit doesn't hurt demons, which is confusing. Maybe you got to wriggle and shake it at it. I don't know. so it doesn't offer any sort of damage against the demons. I don't know if it's got any special protections. Still a cool addition. The next addition is that they've added the ability to place torches, birdhouses, trophy heads, and weapon holders directly to trees. It also includes shells as well. Anything that can be attached to walls seems to be able to be attached to a tree. Not sure how this affects Kelvin, whether he'll still cut down the tree or not, so keep that in mind. The next addition is that they've added a basic noodle soup recipe and added buffs to some of the recipes that they deemed were lackluster. I'm not sure which ones were considered lackluster. I've put it on the screen now, the way it is. The good thing about the noodle recipe is if you're playing with the sensor mod, you can still make noodles without the arm, which is handy. One thing I do notice is that the cream of mushroom soup is being dialed back from 3 mushrooms each to 1 each. That's excellent. This recipe's really good because you can carry 10 of each. That means you've got 10 recipes ready to go if need be. The next one is that the Gore clock now always places vertically. I wasn't sure what this meant when I was testing it out because it was placing vertically, but it's just so 12 o'clock is right at the top. I guess it spun around at times. I didn't even notice that the numbers were on the clock. Mr. Observant here. Looking at this and my complaints about the lamp before, I think they just need 2 variants of a structure. Like the way they used to do it in the forest, you could just press R, I think it was, and it would rotate between 2 blueprints. I just want one without limbs on it. Use sticks or bones instead of hands. The next one's quite confusing. It says they added a 1.5 second delay to player trigger to all traps after rearm except for spring traps. I don't know what this actually meant. I think it was designed so the player doesn't get damaged by the trap. Though I don't think the player can set off traps anymore, I'm not sure. So what I thought it meant was that you can't just sit on a trap and rearm it every single time a mutant or something activates, so you can kill it really easily without barely doing any effort. So I spawned in an armsy and the fly swatter trap, and I just kept resetting it and it was hitting him straight away afterwards. I don't know what this is about. Seems like a pretty easy way to kill something without using weapons and such. Though I've probably brought this to their attention, they might fix it, I'm not sure. Now this is a bad change, and when I say bad, it actually pissed me off. They've set slope walk limit lower for player on terrain so they can no longer walk directly up steep mountains. Now there's mountains that aren't even that steep, like just over 45 degrees, I'd say, and now you cannot walk up it. Why this is really bad is that you can pretty much not get over the mountain anymore. I climbed up on one of these areas to place a zip line before. You can't do that anymore. I have no idea why they've added this in. It was already quite good the way they had it. It wasn't extreme. And now it's just going to take players longer to get around places. Getting over the mountain is going to be much more of a pain in the ass. This is the kind of change where I suspect they've added this and they're going to add in the climbing axe to the game. But they've made the change without adding the climbing axe. That's just my guess. This is going to make it so much more of a pain in the ass to make zip lines over mountains. I do not know why they've done this. It is such a stupid change. It's not like players were exploiting it anyway. It's bad enough what they did to the Night V. Now they've bloody messed with the character's movement, and God, it pisses me off, man. Oh, and Night, what are you doing to me? And there's one more coming too. That's stupid. Breathe, fuck it. The next one is that they fixed cycling ammo in the shotgun. It now must be reloaded. So now when you switch between slugs and buckshot, you have to go through the whole reload animation. I think this is a good change. Before it was quite iffy, like it was strange that you could switch ammo and you had no idea what was in it. So this is a good one. Even though this makes the game a little bit harder because you can't instantly switch ammo, it's much more realistic. The next one is also for the shotgun, and that the shotgun will now properly load a single round if reloading action was cancelled by the player. So if there's reload, you can cancel it and shoot. So if you're in a pinch, emergency, yeah, it's pretty self-explanatory, I believe. I think. This next one's really good. They fixed issues with the log sled, allowing the player to place both items in the side racks once the LODs or the thing is being toggled or the games are being reloaded. It was just really messy. It switched between bone and sticks a lot. Even if it was filled with sticks, it would switch to bone. It was really weird how it was, but it's being fixed now. And I tested it out. It has been fixed. It doesn't switch between the two now. Next addition is that they've added ambient cracking ice sounds to ice caves. I'm just going to let it play and you can listen. It sounds pretty good. The next change is that they've added Gore audio to the grind trap, which means it just basically makes the Gore sounds. Because I'm playing with a sensor mod, it doesn't rip them apart, because YouTube just hates that kind of stuff. But you can still hear the sound effects for it. If I was playing without the sensor mod and I was still collecting limbs, I'd throw bodies into this thing just to rip them apart so you can get the limbs much easier. They'll also remove their armor. Dissecting them is really annoying. Also, just so you know, I dismantled one of these and I didn't get the Night V back. The other two I did. Just keep that in mind because Night Vs are finite. There's only so many in the world and they don't respawn. Now, this is the next one that really pissed me off. This is what I feel like good intentions done by Endnight, but it's actually backfired. Structure ghosts will now always start orientated to the player rather than orientated to the default world space access. So what that means is every time you open up the blueprint, it's going to open the way you're facing, which is terrible if you're trying to place structures along a wall or if you're trying to align anything basically. It's going to place it at different orientations every time. This can be useful, but the thing is, they've taken away the other option. This is the default only way of doing it. This is what fucking pisses me off about this game and the way they do things is that they tend to go, this is the way it's going to be. Player freedom's out the door. They should have an option to switch between the two. Switch between player access or the world access. This is going to make building a lot more painful. Is the other reason it's going to piss me off. If you want to build a bridge, you place a blueprint or a log in an orientation. When you go over to the other side, it's not going to be in that orientation anymore. So if you wanted a perfectly straight bridge, well then you can go fuck yourself because the game doesn't allow it. I'm possibly overreacting, but man, I always struggle with this game. Hey, I really do. Sorry for getting angry. I've breathed and calmed down. I don't know why they made these changes. Moving on. The next change is that they've suppressed the player's idle animation when the grab bag's open, so that interacting with the items on the grab bag is easier. I like how they call it the gab. It isn't that much easier. It might be, but it still flickers about. It does this when you're adding items to a shelf and that too. This is when realism goes bad, I believe. If the game ever does come to console, this is what console players are going to be reliant on. It still moves around a lot, eh? The next one is that they've added more animal zones for increased coverage of the island. I don't know what actually changed with this. It's most likely the other side of the island. But the place that I go for turtle shells, there was never any turtles there for like 200 days. After this update, now there's like 10 there. I don't know how many is there actually, but there's a lot. Going from having none to having 10. It's a bit excessive, but yeah. The second to last one is that they fixed some duck behaviors not working properly. I don't know who made Endnight an authority on duck behaviors, but it seems that they've made an authority on themselves. And this is the last one before I cover the mentionables. But they've made a lot of changes or fixes to the rope bridge. There's 11 in total. I'm just going to put them on the screen. I couldn't figure out what a lot of them really were. I don't know anything about these ones, to be honest. I don't really use rope bridges. This seems to be the focus of this update because there wasn't any other building changes from what I can see. But yeah, view at your leisure. I think they can be useful. They're much better than they were in the forest. The forest ones were very expensive, just put it that way. And now for the rest of the patch notes, and some that are worth mentioning because I wasn't able to get footage or reasons or just couldn't be bothered. It varies. Now these two are in the top, but they've added a new low-lying fog effect. I couldn't find what this was because I think I played with fog off. Fog off. That sounds like something else. And the other one was new dead worker and tactical body poses added. I don't know what this means. Sounds like filler, like minor changes that sound bigger. I don't know. The next one's a good one. They've added tons more ammo to the end of the Hell Cave to help prepare for the end boss. I think this is a good change because the game does have 2 end bosses and they're both not very easy. They've made Cave D a little bit easier to get out. They've made the path clearer. It says more set dressing to make path out clearer. I don't know what that means. They've increased Kelvin's energy recover while resting, so I'm guessing he'll spend less time resting. Cannibals will now eat dead deer. I don't know if this is for the props that are in the game or deer that you kill. Could be both. There's 3 new hanging Gore types added to trees around the world. Obviously, I'm not going to show this because YouTube is the way it is. And finally, they've removed the Fight Demons tattoo from the cultist arms. I never even realized that I had them. Guess they don't anymore. So yes, that's it. As for my thoughts on this game going full release in a couple of months, the game's nowhere near ready in my opinion. I could be wrong. I mean, I was looking at the Steam reviews and it's an overwhelmingly positive now, so I crept over to that part. The game just still feels so empty. There's a lot of potential for it, but it just feels like there's too much missing. Maybe they've got something big planned, I don't know. Maybe they're hiring extra help, I don't know. Feels like the world is just too big and not enough in it. So yeah. Anyway, overall it was a pretty mediocre update. Especially things that they add or change that piss me off. I'm not usually fond of that. Maybe you can see the positives in them, I don't know. Anyway, if you like this video, make sure you like and subscribe. Cheers.